You ever do semen retention?
No.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah. Yes. Retaining your seed.
I'm not a professional, but it's interesting. I mean, there's things that person can do. So that like some of the interesting, really not very scientific ideas is that in each load, you have about enough sperm to populate the United States. United States population is like 350 million. In a load's like, I think it's like 250 to 300 million.
Yeah. Not me. I'm built different.
You're built different.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm at like Chinese level.
Yeah.
I got 1 billion.
Are you a big load guy?
I'd say average.
Yeah.
I saw Tom Segura's like, he was like, dude, it's a problem how much comes out. That's like a continual thing he talks about.
Would you rather have more, less, or are you like, this is a sweet spot where I'm at?
Whatever's the most fertile.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever's the most. Well, I've heard that it doesn't matter how much comes out.
It's about motility.
Right.
Yeah. I went through a process. It didn't actually end up happening, but I went through a process of doing, I think it's called in vitro fertilization. So I went through the whole thing of like measuring all my sperms, the motility, sperm count, like all the stuff. Something interesting detail from that I learned was you're not allowed to nut 3 days. It's like 3 to 5 days is the ideal window. So if you're nutting before you do your sperm donation, then it's like, no, your sperm it's going to be too low. And so the ideal time frame to have like maximal concentration of swimmers is like 3 to 5 days. And that also coincides with some of like the bro science research around testosterone spiking after about a week and then starting to plateau if you go nofap. And then that gets into like nofap and no porn. I think that's something that I heard. I don't know. So I was listening to a podcast recently. I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I think that the nofap and no porn are conflated as one thing.
Right.
I think the issue is really when you're like chronically addicted to whacking it to porn.
Yeah.
Compared to like you're having like a exploring your own sexuality and your mind and like touch with yourself in the shower or whatever. I mean, I don't care what somebody does, but I think those are two completely different categories.
Different. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about dopamine a little bit, but I do want to hear your thoughts on the semen retention thing, because we went away from that. Like, what's the retaining semen?
There's interesting stuff. So I would recommend if people are interested in looking up a guy called Mantak Chia. He's like considered probably the most renowned nut retention guru on the planet.
What do we call it? Ejaculate.
You don't like nut?
I do like nut, but I feel like you're speaking with a scientific tone, you know, and it's like, this is kind of, you know, no, we'll call it nut. Okay, he's a nut retention guru. What about this nut retention guru? What does he bring? What knowledge does he bring?
Well, all right. So there's some research that I'm a little murky on, but I'll try and tap back in. One of the things, there was actually some studies that I read in one of Montauk's books a while ago, and they did some research with, there's a particular type, I think it's a tapeworm, that genetically is actually pretty similar to humans, which is kind of random nod. So the scientists will do studies with this particular tapeworm, and we have to like fact check this and like look into this.
Okay.
But what they found, I'll try to make it as short as possible. They did a study with the tapeworms where they had one tapeworm be able to like nut or ejaculate with great regularity. Another one had to be completely abstinent. And then the other one, they like neutered it, but it was allowed to have sex. Mm-hmm. And what they found was the one that was nutting all the time or ejaculating all the time, their lifespan was like cut down by like a third. And then the one that was completely abstinent was like another third. And the one that was able to have sex but wasn't ejaculating had by far the greatest longevity. And that's the general suggestion within the semen retention space.
Is to have sex and not ejaculate.
Yeah, so you can do like it's called a retrograde ejaculation. where you contract the muscles around the pubococcygeal muscles, particularly, like call them the PC muscles, essentially like your P muscles. And you go through like certain like visualizations of sorts, and you visualize that buildup of quote unquote sexual energy and around the dong. And you work on doing like breathing practices to start to literally pull that quote unquote energy up the spine and create this loop goes up the back of the spine, down the front, the nose, down the jaw. One of the interesting things with that is you want to connect your tongue to the roof of your mouth. This completes what's called the microcosmic orbit.
Oh my God, Aaron. Oh my God, man.
And why that's interesting.
I'm tearing up right now.
So in this world,
it's just so much woo-woo.
In this world, no, we can get off this at any time. This is you.
No, I love it. No, I want to hear more.
I'm not saying that I align with this.
This is the fun. Well, this is the funny thing is like, I know that shit is woo-woo and bullshit sometimes, or maybe not. It just sounds insane, and it has some sort of effect on me.
Yeah.
Like I still change my practices because of it. I'm not going to do semen retention and you can non-ejaculate sex, but like our mutual friend Austin, he's continually saying like, no, don't eat that, bro. BPA's and that, and
too far too.
You know, he goes way too far, but it's fun.
Well, he might go just the right amount of distance for himself.
Yeah.
For everybody, it's different. You know, how much like rules and regulations do you want to have in your life? And placebo and nocebo, are incredibly powerful. So if you tell something has an effect, it's like, you're right.
Yeah.
Typically.
So completing the cosmic orbit.
Call it microcosmic orbit.
Microcosmic orbit.
So why I was going to say
dong.
Yeah, why that's interesting is that then relates over to, and we can talk about like exercise and all that stuff if you want. But why that's interesting is that's something that would also be recommended in like weightlifting practices, or like proper nose or proper breathing. So you're breathing through your nose, your tongue's going to rest on the roof of your mouth. An interesting thing that we're probably not going to do it, but if you stand, like a little like parlor trick test you can do, if you stand in front of someone and you put your arm out and you have that person push down in your arm trying to like pull you off balance, you do that with your tongue at the bottom of your mouth, you'll feel it's like easier to pull them off balance. Then you say, okay, now I want you to drive your tongue up to the roof of your mouth, up to the maxilla, just the bone, the roof of the mouth. Drive your tongue up there, and what you'll find is like way harder to knock the person off balance. And the suggestion with that is that there's different things. There's like the concept of irradiation, which has been kind of debunked, but that was what Pavel Satsulin called it in his book, like Strength of the People, I think.
Yep.
There's another term called CAP, which is co-activation potentiation. The suggestion is by specifically driving those muscles around the tongue and the jaw, it's essentially creating like more, I think the term would be like neural drive, like more neural output.
Yeah.
So your nervous system is like more engaged.
Yeah, right? And that we tested that, you and I. We did.
Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we did the band in the teeth.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that is very effective, incredibly effective. Yeah, it's crazy. I find it more to be around the neck, but I understand how bite works. Like, I think I didn't really notice the bite making it happen. Like if I had someone pulling on my head while I was doing push-ups, that might be effective as well. But the fact that there was the bite pulling, I could feel my neck flexing so hard, so I could just rip out push-ups like it was nobody's business. But so this is back to semen retention, so we can close this.
We should close
this loop.
Yeah, I think
so that's the only way that you can see the benefits of semen retention is if you have sex and then don't orgasm, or is it like nofap, or is it like?
I think the move is ideally, so in like the Montauk Chia semen retention world, the suggestion is for each age, like each decade essentially, it would be you'd slowly draw back the amount of ejaculations per week. And so if you're like young, if you're like 18 years old, it's like, cool, probably nut every 5 days. I don't remember what we pull up a chart and like look what it is. But compared to if you're like 60 years old, then it's like, okay, maybe nut like every 2 weeks. And it's so there's a whole chart for ejaculation.
Very
per
interesting.
Week. Yeah.
Montauk Chia.
Yeah, Montauk.
So I wanted to.
By the way, I already prefaced, but I'm not saying any of that in any form of like,
oh yeah,
this is my stuff, authoritative. I'm just bullshitting right now.
Yeah, no,
This is full bullshit.
why? This is why you're here.
Good.
We have a relationship prior to this that is a very comfortable relationship, meaning like
We do semen retention together. I hold his pelvic floor for him.
yeah, and while we practice, this is what we do at On It Gym. This is Austin's spirituality training.
Dude, that's Austin.
101.
That is Austin.
Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that, press here for the full length episode.